he was. In fact, that's where I know him from.
Right.
I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and welcome to Street Talk. And thank you for allowing us into your home. I have a great show today. As always, I'm very lucky. I have my notorious partner that sits across from me, Dominic Cotton, who goes out and grabs everybody and brings them in, and we try to do a good show. Today, I have a great person on with me, a person that comes out of my kind of background. Okay, Addison Joseph is here, and we're going to talk about justice. We're going to talk about Black Lives Matters. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that's going on in the state with legislative stuff, second chance, and the real key that I wanted to talk. And Addison has been on before.
Thank you for having me back.
I'm glad to have you back. You know, really, really glad to have you back.
Glad to be here.
Okay, and our audience knows you did about 6 years.
6 and some change.
6 and some change. You've been out
About 2 years.
about 2 years.
September make 2 years.
It was 2 years you've been out in September. You were at a halfway house for a while.
Yep, for about 8 months.
Yeah, for about 8 months. You've done really good. I mean, okay, but I want to talk about. I really want to talk about the difficulty.
Right.
Okay, of coming out. Second Chance is a really great program. If when you come home, you can get a job. I mean,
That's the crux to the whole issue. Getting a job, live some gainful employment, being able to create a livelihood for yourself, for your family, get things back on track. That's the objective. And I mean, it's hard enough for people that haven't been in prison, people with degrees and educational backgrounds, and they've been in certain fields for a long time, and they still have trouble finding employment if they've been laid off. So it's hard enough combating that. Added on top of the fact that you have a felony, that you have this background. So
now, so you have struggled.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a struggle.
Okay, it's no joke, and you've had some help.
Right.
Okay, but
Yeah.
what do you think is the biggest thing that holds you back? Aside from being black. Father, okay. I mean that's and aside from being an
ex-felon, right. So
okay.
there's 2 strikes.
You got 2 strikes. Right?
Aside from that, I just think it's the economic climate. It's we living in a day and time now where probably 40 years ago people were able to get manufacturing jobs like it was nothing. You know what I mean? Like we had a manufacturing economy. All those jobs are overseas. Taxes are high, so now we're trying to lower the tax rate so we could bring those types of jobs back. That would help.
They're not going to bring them back.
They're not. I know they're not going to bring them back.
That's a fantasy.
Yeah.
That's an economical fantasy. We're in a high-tech world now.
Exactly.
Okay. 3D printing is the manufacturing way, and
Right.
if you're not educated
On that.
to that kind of stuff, you can forget it.
So yeah,
okay?
so that's what we're
It's
dealing
a dream
with.
world.
That is the biggest thing, and I think you just have to be creative enough to and have the confidence enough to go out and probably start your own thing, and that's difficult. You know what I'm saying?
I know how difficult it is for you.
Right, exactly. So like I went to a halfway house. I was able to get 2 full-time jobs. They had an employment specialist there. I took advantage of it. That's another thing. People coming out of prison, coming back into the community have to be willing to take advantage of those things and not sit back and wait for something to happen for them. You got to go out and make something happen for yourself. So just having that motivation is key, but that's just one ingredient. And I was fortunate enough to get 2 full-time jobs. I saved my money. I got out, started my own company. As admirable as that was, I didn't know how difficult it would be to maintain and sustain a business. So the business has kind of struggled, and I've been searching and trying to find different avenues to, create some type of income for myself. But it's just the day and time we live in. There's not a lot of opportunity out there for guys coming home from jail. It just is what it is.
The reason I do this kind of show, obviously, is for people like you and me.
Right.
Obviously, my audience knows that I'm an ex-convict and did serious time, and I did a total of 7 years, 20 years on probation or parole. Okay. And I try to tell everybody, it doesn't even matter if you go to the joint like you and I have been. Okay, you commit a felony, you just wiped yourself out.
Right.
You've got a life sentence on you.
Right.
And the Corey laws and the background checks
Right.
have been a major problem. Even if you paid your debt,
Right.
it's right there. A person who's looking to employ you looks at that,
Right.
sees a felon, throws that in the garbage pail.
I just went to an interview with Broadband Express. I had put in the application online, and they called me up. I went in, I filled out the application. I disclosed everything. I went there. He was like, "So have you ever been arrested?" And I said, "Yeah, I've been arrested. I have a felony." So, well, we're gonna do a background check. It's gonna pop up. I can't hire you. It was just cut and dry. So he actually said, "Sorry to have wasted your time." So
see, they did a new law. It's called ban the box.
Right.
So on the application,
right.
they're not allowed to ask you that question,
Right.
so that you actually. It's
You get
supposed to
an
be
in-
that you have an opportunity to
You get
go
an interview.
in
That's
and
what,
get an interview.
Right,
Right.
right.
But you're right.
Yeah.
It's where do we take it to the next step?
Exactly.
Of, you can get an interview.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean, because at the end of the day, the objective is to get a job and work and get
Right.
some money, make some money.
The best program that we had in Massachusetts in the 1970s was with Dr. Land. What's the camera that he made?
Oh, I know the one you're talking about.
Okay, Honeywell. Not Honeywell.
Honeywell.
What's the camera? For crying out
The
loud.
instant ones.
Yeah, instant. Right, Dr.
Yeah,
Land.
Polaroid. Yeah.
Right. Polaroid program was the best one that we had. Dr. Land, came from Newton, Mass. Nice guy, great guy, way ahead of his time. Okay, he got interested in guys coming out of prison. He had a program, and we had a program that the guy comes out of prison, goes to work, gets trained in Polaroid. Okay, if he had a drug problem, alcohol problem, they put him, they pay for him to go to counseling and stuff like that. Guys that come out might have been in the joint for 5, 10, 15 years. No work experience, no getting up in the morning when he had
no life skills.
no life skills.
Right.
He had people. Well, that's part of where I learned my living skills training stuff from doing it. You had to call the guy up in the morning, make sure the guy got transportation, got to the job and stuff like that. They did that for a year for their people that they hired and stuff like that. Most successful program, and of course Dr. Land ended up passing away. The program no longer, I know, is at the institutions. But because we had programs like that, we had ex-convicts on the street that would help other things. We were having a wonderful job creation effort. The Better Business Bureau was involved with it and stuff like that. If you don't tie these people in, if you don't tie manufacturing folks or whatever the business you're going into with the other side, the life skills training,
Right.
you're dead meat,
Right.
which costs money.
Right.
Okay, so this is what we're doing. This is what angered me so much that we're doing in Connecticut. Oh, we're going to let them out. Let them out to what?
Right.
to the homeless shelter?
Exactly.
Let them out to a situation where they're going to violate their probation
And go back.
and then they're going to go back in. Or
Right.
what's worse, you get a job, and then all of a sudden you have to go in and see your parole officer, your probation officer. It's during the hours that you're supposed to be at work.
Right.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Or they come out to the job and interfere with the employer's
Right,
business, right? No
Yeah.
thought. There's no thought. This stuff makes me crazy.
Right.
Yeah, you know, because I was asked to do a federal program. Okay, I was asked to come in and said, "Oh, you know, Father, you've been developing a program for years." I said, "Yeah, under two governors, under Sargent, a Republican governor in Massachusetts. I was consultant with them." I said, while I was on parole, I was consultant to the Commissioner of Corrections, John Boone, and I developed programs, some of the first programs that were done in the country. And then in Arizona, under Symington, I did civil rights stuff. I said, yeah, two Republican governors hired me to do stuff because I know what I'm doing. I said, and we had very successful programs. So I go to the federal thing here in Connecticut, sit down with them, and they say, well, we got these people coming out in 6 weeks. And they're going, these people have been doing 8, 6 years, 9 years, 10 years. We need a program. I said, are you crazy? You've had these
6
people
weeks.
all this time
Right.
in here, and now you're telling me that in 6 weeks I'm supposed to get them ready to go out into a street where you've got nothing in the street for them.
Right.
Oh, you got a halfway house, you got a bed, but you got no job creators, you got no
job
life skill training,
developers.
you got nothing like that. I said, you doomed this to fail.
Right.
I said, and you've told the community that this stuff is going to work, and you don't even have the community at the table.
Right.
You know, it drives me crazy. And Malloy's going to get a big, oh, gee whiz, you're doing wonderful stuff in corrections. No, you're not. You're screwing people, and you're setting them up to fail.
Right.
You know.
And they're getting the federal money. You know what I mean? It's like throwing good money after bad money.
Yeah, serious
I mean?
money.
So
It doesn't employ one of the principles that we use, which is person-centered.
Person-centered self-determination.
Right. It's institutionally centered, and it's set up around
You're right.
their jobs.
Around their jobs.
Right.
Right.
See, I think if we're gonna have any type of development or success in that area, like you said, the community has to be involved. You know what I mean? Because these people are coming back to the community, and you have to. I think you just have to involve the community. So like with anything, this is what I'm kind of pushing forward a lot more with people as far as like creating jobs and stuff like that. Like I think we rely too heavily on the government to do things for us, as opposed to creating these things for ourselves, going to the government with a blueprint or a plan. This is what we want, and this is what we want executed. Now we're charging you to do it. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to having all these committees put together by the government. They're not at the ground level. They're not in the trenches, so to speak, dealing with these issues.
We basically, Massachusetts in the late 60s and in the early 70s, when the prison movement started there and they developed, it was self-determination, it was person-centered, it was we developed the programs.
Right.
The problem was, once you developed the program for them, they would take over the program and try to institutionalize it in such a way that it became their program. And it's the same thing with the homeless. Okay, I did the homeless shelter in New London 15 years ago. There was nothing. There were people in the street and stuff like that. We got together, we did some community stuff, we put some temporary shelters together and stuff like that. All of a sudden somebody says, oh, let's build a shelter. I tried to say, no, this is all temporary. You don't build a shelter. You want to build an agency. Right. As soon as you build an agency, you don't want to end homeless shelter because you just employed. I did great employment. 22-something people, okay, working to take care of homeless people. They need homeless people to take care of.
Right.
So it was a job development for middle class idiots that don't even know what they're doing with homeless people. Okay, well, I try to explain that to people. I said, no, you don't want to do that. That is not what you want to do. What you want to do, you want to assist these individuals in making a life for themselves. So, okay, so that they can climb the ladder and get out of being homeless.
Right.
Prison, same thing. ABI, same thing.
It's the same thing if you look at it with like the disability community and
Same
being
thing.
in poverty.
Right,
You can only save a certain amount of money,
right.
and once you save that certain amount of money for emergencies or anything else, if you go past that, they'll take you off of the things that you need, the benefits that you need in order to be able to survive, instead of like doing something where they're, they allow somebody to build
have
themselves,
the assistance, right.
and then taper off
Right.
the assistance
Right.
as they need less and less of it.
Right, exactly right.
It's the same thing with Section 8 of food stamps and all these other federal programs and benefit programs and things of that nature. It keeps you in a box. To where if you do make over a certain amount of money, they cut your food stamps, they cut the the Section 8, they raise it or whatever.
Yeah, they cut your survival.
They cut your survival.
Is what they do.
I think in some aspects they do enable people as well. You know what I mean? Where people become, as opposed to using the food stamps or the Section 8 as a stepping stone, they become, they pass it on to their children and things of that nature. I think that's a little bit,
Well, they make them dependent.
Make 'em dependent,
okay,
exactly.
And that's because they don't do the educational part
Right.
that is necessary
Right.
to you go. The mentoring part. Mentoring is a key thing. Education is the most important thing. As people who are looking and you have your fez on,
right.
okay, your religious symbol, okay, you belong to an organization that is. My audience is going to misinterpret. Because they're going to look and they're going to say, that's Elijah Muhammad's thing. When in fact, you're a different sect.
Yeah.
And you're a community sect that brings together like a brotherhood.
Right, exactly.
Would you please explain a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. So I'm involved with the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine and National Movement number 13, Moorish American National Republic, and we have a temple in Baltimore and one in New York City. And what we do is we don't follow the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad, and while his father Muhammad, his teacher actually came out of our temple in the early 1920s. We consider ourselves to be Hebrew Muslim. That's why I wear the Star of David as well. We deal with the Quran, we deal with the Bible, we deal with the Constitution, we deal with government. We are actually a theocratic government, the way that the temple was set up. There are branch temples all across America, but they're all 501c3s, which limits them in their ability to be able to do anything outside of the religious aspect. So we deal with things on a national level, and we actually were, in the 1940s, we established the Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics. And what you're talking about as far as education is concerned, we go through an 8-month process where we learn about our history, we learn about the law, and in October we have what's called a naturalization ceremony, where we become naturalized as citizens outside of the 14th Amendment. We get naturalized under the 4 proclamations of Abraham Lincoln and the original 13th Amendment with 20 sections, not the one that's on the books now. I could get into that, but so we become, and then we proclaim our nationality, which is very important in today's times. You have to have a nationality. Everybody across the world has a nationality except for most people in America, because we identify ourselves with colors. It's really a caste system, where white is at the top, black is at the bottom, and we actually get our status changed from black to white. Because it has nothing to do with complexion, it has everything to do with status, and I think that's what a lot of people miss in this country because of the educational system and the way we've been indoctrinated and the way that we've learned how to navigate within the society. But I think that's part of the problem.
Well, partly, you and I would say it's set up like the Vatican. It's a state.
It's a state,
It's
yeah.
in and of itself.
Right.
Exactly right.
It's a nation state.
It's a nation state.
Right.
And the reason I wanted you to do a little bit of explanation is that, okay, when you talk about that, the part most important to me is the history, okay?
Right.
Now, my associate, who you've read some of his books,
right,
okay,
absolutely.
my partner, he's 48 years in the Massachusetts Correctional Facility, Ralph Ham, he has one academic thing. It's called the ARC, and it talks about people being developed. He learned many, many years ago when we were doing political stuff that the Italians, okay, the American Italians had a history. They
Right.
knew they were Italian.
Right.
The Irish they knew they were, everybody had a history
Right.
except the black guys. And they didn't know they had a history. They came from Roxbury, they came from Dorchester. Where's your history? The street, the hood.
Right.
That's not your history. Your history is who you are, what your nationality is, and stuff like that. So they put together 1973, I believe, might be 74, what they call Band 2, which was all black guys that devoted themselves to educating themselves about themselves,
Right.
about black history, about that.
Right.
And of course, today he graduated Boston University. While he's in there, he should have a master's degree, but he needed residency, which he
messed
can't
up.
do.
Right.
And he's written 5 books, all due to educational program and understanding where you come from,
Right.
who you are, and then where you're going.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Very important.
and of course that's what I hear in your involvement in your organization. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we go through what's called the Moore School of Law and History, and we deal with just not just Moorish history, but the history of the world.
history of
you
the
know
world.
what I mean? Everybody. So like when we give our honors, we honor all the holy and divine prophets: Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius. You know what I mean? So we covering different aspects. We're not just dealing with Muhammad, and
Right.
we personally follow the teachings of Abraham.
Right.
Because Abraham is the father of all the nations.
Right.
So we take it back to that aspect as opposed to traditional Islam, where they've kind of put Muhammad on this kind of a pedestal. To each their own. We don't knock anybody, but
Right.
what we deal with is the Torah, the law, and like I said, just history in general. You know what I mean? So we have, like you said, it's very important as a foundation for any people. You know what I mean? You have to know yourself.
It all comes out of one place.
Yeah,
I mean, it all started
there. That's exactly right.
with the Torah.
Torah.
Exactly. It has to go. It goes back
and-
to the Torah. That's
Yeah,
what,
unless you're going to go to Easton's, okay, and stuff like that. Our culture and everything else come out of that place.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Now your Easton's, you can go back to your Easton's and everything else. But even that, okay, when you're talking about caring about people, when you're talking about principles of
Right.
of the human race, they all tie
They're
together.
universal, yeah.
They're universal.
Right.
They don't. Okay, it isn't about. It isn't about war. It isn't about dividing one another. It's about that we are the family. We are the human family.
It's about
The
peace.
yeah, which we don't teach.
Right.
Okay, the scary part of that is when you start to go on that educational trip.
Right.
You get into the science. Are we inherently warlike?
Mm-hmm.
Is it learned or is it science? I don't know. I'm just saying. That,
I guess I
wanna
look at
chime
it.
in?
I look at it. Well,
Go
no, I
ahead.
look at it back to where do you see like parts of religion kind of going off the edge?
right.
And really, it happened about like 300 A.D. With who was the one
Constantine.
who with
Constantine.
and that became the religion of the Roman Empire. Thank you
Right.
for doing that one.
He's good.
Because he said he prayed to
Yeah, he saw
God
the cross.
Saw the
in the
cross.
sky,
Yeah,
and
sky
With this will.
and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
and that's how that's
Yeah.
like where it got like militarized. I mean,
Right.
Christianity
But
was really Jews for
Well,
Jesus.
well,
Right.
yeah, but then you go. Okay.
Because Islam had the same.
Islam had the same thing, right?
It's always been a political
It was a
tool.
warrior religion.
Right.
Okay, ours was a war. People say, "Oh, wow, that's a warrior." I said, "What are you talking about? Didn't you know what the Crusades were about?"
Right.
Yeah.
The Crusades, give me a bull and I can kill anybody in my way
Right,
that
right,
isn't
right.
Catholic or Christian.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going off the deep end. Okay, the problem is nobody understands, not nobody, few understand, the common folk, that this was all political.
It's political.
Had nothing to do with the religious part.
Belief in one God.
Yeah, it had to do about power and politics,
Exactly.
which is a mistake.
And it's always like when you look at the history of man, you had your tribe or your nation and you had your geographical area. When somebody infringed upon it, that might have went to war.
Right.
It was when man said, you know what, I want to build an empire. And you had many empires. You had the Roman Catholic Empire, you had the Moorish Empire, you had the dynasties in China. You had it's a human thing. But I think we've gone through enough history over time to know that now that's uncalled for. Look at how we're militarized now with nukes and just wipe off the whole planet. For what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is kind of part of what I think the overall understanding has to come to in the world. Like, everybody has the ability to do what they want to do, but at the same time, it has to be regulated. And then, we want to trade. You got something I like, and I have something you like. We should be able to trade.
We should be able to trade.
You know?
Exactly right.
And that's like why a lot of those wars were started and stuff like that. And even with dealing with the history of the Moors, we know and understand. See, what a lot of so-called black people like to do is they like to kind of fantasize about the whole issue with slavery. Like, slavery, all black people were just slaves and all white people were masters. But I got a book called Black Slave Owners in South Carolina, where you had blacks that owned whites.
Right.
And what they were doing, not just owning their family members, because a lot of them were doing that too. What they would do is they would buy slave in the South or from another territory for a cheaper price,
right,
and immediately sell them for a higher price.
Right.
And this
exactly
is what
right.
this is what black
trade.
people. It was a business.
It was a business.
It was a
Oh,
business.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, where they got them.
Right.
I mean, that's what it was. It was a business. It was slave trading was a huge business. Black, white, it was yellow. A lot of people do not understand. And actually, the Brits were probably the initiators of stopping the trading and stuff like that. Okay, because of religious convictions, because of moral convictions and stuff like that.
Right.
But it was all about money. It was all about
big business. It was an international thing. Too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Okay, we just didn't clean it up good enough, and we were one of the last, and we still haven't finished cleaning it up. You know,
I have
the 13th Amendment. Is 13th Amendment? Yeah.
We're supposed to abolish.
It never got abolished. We
Except
just
if you go to
changed.
jail.
if you go to jail. Yeah, I was about to say.
Felon.
Right.
Yeah, we changed masters. That's
Right,
all we
exactly,
did.
absolutely.
We made the state the owner of slaves.
Right.
People don't get that.
They don't
Say,
understand-
"Oh,
they don't understand
there's no slavery." I said, "Well, guess what?
Right.
You didn't read the Constitution.
Exactly.
You need to read I'm a slave. Yeah, I'm a felon. I'm an ex-felon. Guess what? The state, as soon as you become that, you're a slave to the state. It doesn't matter your color."
A lot of people don't understand as well is
it.
that the 14th Amendment actually created a totally new jurisdiction, and it's actually contrary to the 5th Amendment, because the 14th Amendment, Section 4, says that the United States is not going to pay back anybody for slavery.
That's right.
But the 5th Amendment says that if the government takes anyone's property, they have to be justly compensated for that property. And we know that the federal government, the Union, when they confiscated the slaves, they never paid the slave owners back.
Reparations.
So it's contrary to the Constitution, which the 6th article says that if anything is contrary to the Constitution, it's notwithstanding. So we have an amendment that is contrary to another amendment, which makes it notwithstanding. But everybody's naturalized as a 14th Amendment citizen. Either you're born that way when you get your birth certificate, your Social Security card, or immigrants that come here, they get naturalized under that amendment. So who's you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they do to the nation,
Right.
the Indian nation. They want all Indians. They don't want them on the
Reservations.
okay, because they got too much power. They're independent state. See, they want naturalized, and that wipes out all their. It makes their standing moot.
Right.
Okay, it's like what I think they're going to do to Ralph. Okay, Ralph has got a huge. I mean, even the judge said, never seen a situation like his. He's done more time than anybody that they know of in the United States for an attempted crime. No body, no nothing. Okay, 48 years, okay? Now he's into court and they're doing all evaluations on him and stuff like that. He said, what do you think going on? I said, they're going to do like what they did to me. I said, because I had so many suits against me, when I went to the parole board, they wanted me to go to the parole board. They blew me right out. And as soon as you're outside, okay, your lawsuits end. They stand moot. They're no longer, you no longer have standing.
Yeah.
I said, that's what they're going to do to you. They're going to parole you or get you out so you have no standing. And that's exactly what naturalization does.
Right.
Once you're naturalized.
See, in the temple that I'm a part of, we naturalized under what was called Abraham Lincoln issued what was called the Oath of Amnesty and Reconstruction, which brought General Lee, who was part of the Confederate Army. He was able to become back because the Southern states seceded unlawfully. They were supposed to get 3/4 of the said states that signed on to it, but they didn't. All of them just seceded. So in order to come back into the Union, which was what Abraham Lincoln, like a lot of people say, oh, he didn't care about black people, but his main thing was, I want to preserve this Union.
Right.
That was his main thing. And in order to bring the Southerners back, what they did was they had to take this oath of amnesty and reconstruction. But when they assassinated Lincoln, a lot of his policy that had passed the Congress lawfully and constitutionally got swept under the rug, and they came out with some other policies and stuff like that under Andrew Johnson. But we naturalized under this oath of amnesty and reconstruction, and according to the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. I mean, think about it. Abraham Lincoln spent his whole administration on this 13th Amendment. So you mean to tell me he spent 4 years on this 13th Amendment, he was only able to come up with 2 sections? This great lawyer, this great politician. And that was actually, kind of unearthed by one of the grand sheiks in our temple named Richardson Dingle Ill, who established the Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics through the Pentagon, through the National Archives. We have the file numbers and everything. And it's recognized in this government and by this government. So, this is the naturalization process that we go through to come back under the republic form of government, which is in Article 4, Section 4. Every state shall have a republican form of government. But all you hear now is democracy, democracy, democracy. So what's really going on? It's actually 2 different things, and people don't really understand that. And that's what's wrong with the American population. We are just uneducated as far as our Constitution and this republic.
It's a horror story. I mean, our education has gone down. It used to climb, and it receded. It went down, and that's the shame of it. I mean, that's why you got a Donald Trump. You got a Donald Trump. But statistically, you look at the kind of people he have, they're uneducated.
They're uneducated, yeah.
Limited education.
Yeah.
I mean, that's scary. I mean, that's really scary. When you have individuals, and there's always the argument, everybody wants every man to have a vote. Well, it's nice to have a vote, but it's nice to know what you're voting for.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and that's how some people can gather a lot of people who are dumb to vote for them. Okay?
It's a populist.
It's a populist thing.
It's a populist situation.
Exactly.
And that is, people don't understand, that is a danger. Okay, and when we go talking about votes and democracy, whether you come under a republic democracy or anything else like that, You were supposed to be a citizen,
Right.
tied to what's going on,
Right.
understanding what you know what
Involved
you
in,
were doing.
right.
Yeah, it's a. I mean, I go on that Facebook, you know, and everybody's going to get mad at me now. It's on Facebook. It's unbelievable of the amount of people that have no clue of what's going on. Not only you see the way they respond to you,
Right.
they don't know how to research,
Right.
which is, so they don't know where to find things, so that they don't know which schools are good schools,
Right.
or which schools are bad schools. You know, are you going to go to
they all,
Harvard?
they all see it on the internet, and they think that everything on the
right.
internet
Is okay.
is correct.
So it's like opening
Yeah.
a book, everything or a paper. They don't understand the difference between a Harvard or a Yale or a Princeton and Trump University.
Right. Right.
You,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Phoenix.
It ain't a university.
No.
It's not. I mean, you know, and they don't understand. I mean, there's a big differences in schools.
Yeah.
You know, but I better shut up. Education gets me.
I mean, and you gotta like a lot of it is tied to like this whole corporate situation where everything is funded by big money, and sometimes you have to really vet the information and research you're getting from different institutions because they all have an agenda.
And who owns
what I
it?
mean?
What's the
Right,
agenda and
exactly.
everything else? Well, the world runs on economics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I mean that's what you were talking about. You talk about nations and everything else
Right.
like that. We have the biggest navy in the world.
Right.
Not so much for obviously it's to defend our country,
Right.
but it's to defend the economic highway
Yeah.
and transportation of goods.
Right.
Okay, that's what it's for.
Right.
Okay, so goods can travel back and forth
Forth.
because that's what makes us a living. You got something I want,
Right.
I have something you want, or you got something that I want and I'm going to take it.
Right.
Okay,
That's what
That's the whole big thing about the South China Sea.
oh, that's what's going on.
And China, and why we have so much of our navies over there,
there.
Oh, yeah.
is because that's part of the highway
Right.
Yeah.
through the Pacific.
Yeah, and
Pacific,
China's
right.
rebuilding their navies like
Yep.
they never did before.
Right.
Okay, and all that's happening. Okay, we are not like it was in World War II. We were the power and the economic power for 50 years.
Right.
Well, guess what? That's not anymore. Now you have China, India,
India.
all of Asia, Vietnam.
right.
But I mean,
Japan.
that are becoming huge economic
Centers.
powers with people that you can employ for 25 cents an hour.
Right.
You can. There's no business. If you
Yeah.
think manufacturing's coming back
And
here,
that's exactly
you're
why it's not
outta-
coming
Right,
You're
exactly.
out of your mind.
Right.
There is no investor that's going to invest where he's got to pay $35, $25, or $15 an hour.
he can go get it
to,
for
when he
25
can
cents.
go over here for 25 cents.
Right. It's just not
You-
smart business at all.
No, of course not. Not if you're a businessman.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And Donald Trump's a lying piece of scum because he doesn't build one thing in the United States.
No.
He can't afford to.
Right.
He don't even buy his suits here. Okay, he's going to go to Singapore. He's going to go to. Now, as a businessman, you can't blame him
Right.
because they're about money.
Right.
But as a government leader,
Politician.
that's a different story because you're into people. People are your business, not money.
Right.
You have to figure out a way where your population can survive, okay, and make a living, okay, against this other big world now, these big giants, economic ability. So you either got to be high tech. You've got to find another way where you can create and produce more than them, okay, and get paid 20 an hour, but make far more than 25 cents an hour employees
See,
can.
Right.
now it's not the manufacturing where you got like base employees
Exactly
coming.
right.
Now
It's all
manufacturing is all automated.
Right.
And it's the guys that can go in and program the automation.
Exactly,
So you have to have an education enough to be able to
Do that.
to
Exactly.
do that, and that's
And I think maybe as far as education is concerned, that there has to be a sort of like a revamping where we should be, training people to go in this direction, so to speak, as opposed to the traditional education that we've been getting for 50, 60 years that's manufactured
That's
based.
what they're
that's
trying
out of
to.
touch.
That's the attempt that they're doing, but we have a huge population.
Right.
But and you hope that that's an area where, whether you're a felon or not, it's not going to be worried about that. They're going to worry about your brain power if you can do the job.
Exactly.
I mean, if you can operate the 3D printer, if you know how to, you know how to deal with robotics, if you know how to deal with, obviously, the education level now in our state, we're a medical state. We're a provider state for care of people. That's the biggest. That is the outside of the prison. Okay, that's the biggest
market
workplace there is.
Right.
Okay, nursing and stuff like that, and hospitalization. But that can't employ all your people. You need this high tech stuff that's coming down the line, where you take one robot, and that one robot replaces 35 people jobs. Got to be kidding me. I do not go through in the market. I don't go through the robotic thing at any one of our markets where you do your own thing.
You go to the cashier.
I go to the cashier.
Right.
Look at one of those things replaces tons of cashiers.
Yeah.
So I refuse to go to that. Not that I can't use it. I refuse to go there. You have one person watching 5 freaking machines.
Yeah.
That meant 5 jobs are not there anymore. Okay? Trash truck.
Oh, I know.
One guy.
Yep.
One guy in the trash truck. Stick that arm in that trash truck. You name it. Okay? The real fact is that right now, today, if we used all the robotics that they're geared for, we could replace 48% of our present job holders, workforce. Right now. That's scary. People don't realize it, that those suckers can do everything from inventory, emptying the truck. They're going to be able to drive the truck.
Yeah. And they got the
They're
smart
going to be able
cars.
to drive the truck and keep inventory and everything else like that.
I think there's a certain level of acceptance over some of those things where perception's a real driver right now, and I mean that like with the whole Tesla, self-driving cars that have smacked around. People are feeling like, maybe that's not quite where it should be at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at just even with technology now and smartphones, and I think everybody's kind of being conditioned towards this new robotic world that we're kind of entering into. So it's going to be tough.
You have the power of kings on your phone, on this stupid thing.
Right.
If you know how to use it.
Right, exactly.
The problem is, at a certain level, this starts to become difficult, right? Or the master, okay? You can't go no place where they can't get you, or they don't know where you are.
Right, exactly.
Okay? Wherever you are, they know where you are. And who's they? Government?
That's why I shut off the GPS.
Okay.
If that even works.
It might not even work, that's true.
Right, but you don't know. That's exactly right. Okay, you can contact anybody and everything else like that. The world in this thing, and everybody's got one.
Right.
Well, that's why they bypass in developing countries. They all bypass all the mobile and everything else. I mean, all the landlines. They have mobile phones.
They have all mobile phones.
Nobody has a landline anymore.
Yeah.
Especially like you said, in developing countries.
Right.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. So, what about Black Lives Matter?
There you go. You're good.
So here's the question: do that?
Yeah, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. The thing is, how I see it, it's that, so we all watch social media, we watch the news, and we see what's happening as far as a lot of black people getting gunned down by the police, and there's no repercussion that we can see. Like usually it happens, it's on the news for a couple of days. There might be some rallies and marches and stuff, and then everybody kind of forgets about it. And make some T-shirts, put some faces on it and stuff like that. But the thing is, this is the crux that I think that the black community has to really understand is that Black lives has to matter to black people because it's not. We could deal with the history and what happened to black people in this country over time and the marginalization, but racism is not necessarily conducting, I don't know, some type of secret, some type of, secret hand where you have black people killing each other in the hood. Right. Black on black crime is a problem, you know what I'm saying? And it's only when, your white police officers kill black teens or men and stuff like that, that it becomes an issue, and then we want to rally and stuff like that. But, there are black people killing each other in the hood at daily, you know what I'm saying? So where's the outcry? And I think that's the question that a lot of us don't really want to deal with as a people, you know what I mean? And that's the stigma, you know what I'm saying? Where you have this whole rally and this march and this whole movement based on, one segment of the population that seems like they're attacking another segment of the population, but you have to deal with it. It's like if my house is out of order and I'm trying to come to your house and tell you, get your house in order.
But see, no, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Okay, I can't go into your community, okay? Well, unless I have my partners with me. I can't go into your community and explain to them of their situation.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? If I come in and I say that, I'm a racist.
Right.
Now, Bill Cosby or somebody else,
he can say it.
He can go in there and
right.
say the same thing,
Yeah.
But even that he gets attacked.
Right.
He got attacked by his own people. You want to change? Yeah, I want to change. I want to make you more educated. I want you to understand politics. I want you not afraid of the authority. I want you to have the ability so you can challenge it.
Right.
I can teach you that.
Right.
I can go into a community and teach you how to organize. I'm a community organizer. Right. I can teach you how to attack the system legally and forcefully where you can change it.
Right, exactly.
Okay, not just throwing rocks where you're doing. I can strategically show you how you can change your community. If you let me.
Right, exactly.
Okay? Now, the problem is what you're saying. It's me, Whitey, going into your community and not having the creds because you're trying to impose stuff on yourself on us. So how do you do that? I mean, that's the key. See, what is amazing, and I love having you on. You speak Ralph Ham. Ralph Ham is 64 years old, 48 years in the prison. You sit at a table. You belong to an association, a group that speaks exactly to what he's saying.
Right.
You need this education. You are the image of what him and I and others talk about many, many years ago. You need to be you can sit down with two white guys and have a conversation that is not offensive. Right. Nobody's getting offensive. You could say, you could talk about, the Benedictines that built their crap about using slaves and everything else like that. Okay, to me, who's a Benedictine, and there's no way I'm getting offensive over that because I know you're damn right, and that's what that a bunch of popes abused this situation. We can talk about, you and I can sit and talk about slavery and how it happened all over the world, and nobody's going to get offended because we know black, white, yellow, whoever were slaves.
Yeah, exactly.
But you go down with the average person, and as soon as I say slave, wait a minute, you're talking about me because I'm black. No, I'm not necessarily.
Like a lot of black folks they don't understand. Like I said, we deal with Moorish science and Moorish history. The Moors were trading Europeans. This is when the Moors
Europeans
ruled
were chained indentured service.
exactly. They were the indentured servants that first came to this country. You know what I'm saying? The African slave trade came after.
They were lower.
They were
lower than black
They
slaves.
were
lower than black
lower.
slaves.
The Irish.
The
Absolutely,
Irish.
the
Well,
Irish,
my people,
they were
your
lo-
people.
they were lower.
I tried to explain that to somebody. Well, you got my book.
I know. I was going to bring back and give it to him.
Yeah, when the
The Irish were the first slaves. They were the first indentured slaves here.
Yeah.
There's a book called I think it's called White Gold, and then when you're dealing with the Moors in Spain, when when they got kicked out of Spain, there was a lot of kidnapping going on, the holding of ransom of European women. They had harems where they were trading European women. So like and that's part of like what you're saying as far as like coming into the community, educating people. It starts with the education. People just have to. And it starts at home. You have to talk to your children a certain type of way. You have to enforce education. It's mandatory. It's not, it's just certain things that have to happen and components that need to come together before I feel like the black community can progress. Because we could talk about how we want this, that, and the third, but at the same time, what is your plan? What is your strategy? Are you organized? Do you have?
And that's where I kind of feel like Black Lives Matter is
it's fumbling.
It's disorganized.
It's disorganized.
I know they were supposed to come up with some core principles.
When you don't have a titular head and you have a disfranchised organization all over the place, then you don't have. You can't develop a
What they're dealing with, what they move with, how I feel is just it's a bundle of emotion, just moving forward and trying to get something done. It's not like what we deal with in my organization is we deal with the law.
Right.
We deal with the legal aspect of things, and we have our own court. It's called the Moores Court of Equity and Truth in Baltimore, and we have one in Florida. We're starting to institute a police force in Florida, and we're doing these things according to the law. So like when we have court orders, I don't have to go to the court downtown New Haven or in Derby or wherever I'm at. I can write to our Supreme Court justice and get a court order issued from our court. It's a separate jurisdiction. This is how you create real change. We're talking about meaningful change, and we're talking about progress and stuff like that. And we're actually trying to, like, I know Black Lives Matter. I think they're trying to do some type of reparations thing.
Yeah, they're doing it.
But we have the policy that was issued by Abraham Lincoln for the compensation, and what people don't understand is that the slave owners, they had to be compensated first, then the slaves were supposed to get compensated for their labor. So it's a whole thing that we're trying to do and get people organized and try to understand the law. You have to deal with the law. This is what the Torah was.
Right.
Moses was the lawgiver. He brought the law.
Well, we're a law society.
We're a law society.
Yeah, that's why we litigate, and we got to come back and do this again. Okay, we got to. Obviously, you have two convicts here sitting side by side, an old sucker and a young sucker. Okay, and people got to be looking and saying, "Well, they actually study these things." Okay, I thought they were all dumb.
Right.
And then of course we have our moderator here.
I'm just a troublemaker.
Yeah, biggest troublemaker.
He just stir it up. Stir it on up.
Who do we have coming up, Dominic? I really need
We're mystery guests for a couple of weeks, but
okay.
we do have Len Fasano and Avery Gaddis who are going to come on and talk about their plans for
we got to have Ed back. We blew Ed last week. It was really the machine
we are hoping
to get
that Ed and Marilyn Moore make their primaries, as well as some other good people that are going on throughout the state. So August 9th, go out and vote in the primaries.
Yeah, very good. And no win, lose, or draw. I want Ed back because long-time civil rights. Actually, he's longer than I am. God bless him. I can't believe it. He's. Is he 80
years old?
80 years old. He's got some time on me, and he's been in
just a few years.
Just a couple of years. I'm right behind him. Great in civil rights. Wonderful on the death penalty. I mean, that's where I met him around that. And of course, we want you back on. I'm really thankful that you were on. today, and we're pretty much. Anything else? We got any old business or any that you
No.
can think of?
No.
No? No? We got to get Michelle on. We keep saying that.
I got to get
So-
my son situated
And
first.
then you've got your son that you have to deal with his disability.
Yep.
We got to do a disability show. Well, I don't know if the back room's listening to me. I hope they are. Okay, we're pretty much done, and we could actually run the street. I want to thank you people for tuning in. Okay, and allowing us into your home. You're always wonderful, and. My men in the back and women, we have the young lady, can run the street, and we'll say goodnight, if that's okay.